Hello and welcome to the channel. It's Paramay Trades. This is Paramay's Trade Journal. We're going to take a look at natural gas. Oh, this one's fallen off the radar, quite consistently. But the market's doing what it's doing, and with gas pumping lately, figured we'd take a look. Commercial interests, COT report, some price actions, some pivots, and we'll look at some channels. Just because I've been playing gas for the last couple of days, some good money to be made. And then also I've been I was just sitting down meditating, and it came to me, it dawned on me that the natural gas report comes out every Thursday. So I thought, well, why don't I just put the report into an indicator in Thinkorswim so that we could take a look at that too. So straight off the press, but we'll take a look at it, but it's sheerly just the lower 48 states supply, but we can take a look at that too, coupled with commitment of traders and the price channels and stuff like that, and see what's going on. So let's just brush up on our natural gas, energy sector commitment of traders report. They're not very optimistic. But I tell you, when supply was really high, they were really optimistic about this during the winter months. But I have a tendency to think that they got burned pretty bad on the 6-month and the 3-year index. So they are not holding very optimistic right now. I mean, it is April. It is the end of April. So a little bit. There's some reports coming out that with the prices of crude oil dropping or plummeting. It's down to like $14 a barrel or something like that, right? For WTI, and I mean, it's really, really low. And so is there some byproduct of crude oil, natural gas coupled in there? I really don't know. I really don't. I don't pay attention to that much. Only what I read on on bar charts or something like that with the reports. But I have a tendency to just kind of follow the charts a little bit more than I do, the fundamentals. I would say commitment of traders are probably also, fundamental type stuff too. But let's just jump into it so we can see what's going on in natty gas. So commercial interest, not very optimistic at this time of the season on natural gas. So then what are we looking at here? So I went and marked off the Thursday report segment just to get a look at, is there some kind of responsiveness happening, post report that would indicate that, the chart is moving based on, supply and demand factors and things like that. And I wanted to say that there was some pretty good movement based on the reports. So, oversupplied or whatever it is. Quick, just first look at it at first blush here. We'll look at commitment of traders in a second, but I've got this loaded up, and then here's the natural gas storage for the lower 48 states, and it just seems like when we're in this area of maybe possibly oversupplied to meet demand needs, but maybe it's not being consumed. It looks like this is exactly where we saw a top when we were just kind of oversupplied. Well, let's load up oh 2 years, because I put 2 years of data in here. So let's just take a look at it. So hot off the press, it's just something that I'm looking at right now. And it does say, so I'm so glad that I didn't put 2 years of data in the COT report, because it does take a while to get that data in there. So just looking at where supply is at certain levels, at extreme levels, and what our chart is doing. Let's see if we can get a clean chart here. So when we're at extremes with supply, I mean, does this help us in any way with price action? So it seems like we were oversupplied in this area too. The winter wasn't eating into the supply nearly as well as we thought, and in both of these areas, this is where we found tops to natural gas when we were in this oversupplied. So we were really, really oversupplied in this area, and now we've set new lows for gas within the last 2 years. So very interesting look, I think, and maybe there's something here to work with. Maybe we need to put some other data on here too, with maybe seasonal average or something like that. But I found it really interesting that when we found these two peaks, it seemed like we were more or less oversupplied. So maybe this area of demand is pretty low. What's interesting too here is that this is April. So we're into April now, as we were back here. We did get some kind of eventually price moved back up, and supply started to increase, and maybe to meet the demands of the market, but we just didn't use it. So again, we got this really high spike in supply for natural gas, and we saw some retrace. And we saw relative lows to within the last 2 years. So I mean, down at 1.5 here. So so this top was up around almost 5 when we had high supply, and then a lot of oversupply happening, tremendous amount of retrace. But what is happening in the market right now? So we're into April like we were last year, but supply is not nearly as low as it was previously. We are getting some kind of some correction. I don't know why. Supply is on the rise here, like it was last April, and then the previous April, supply on the rise. So I don't, I'm gonna have to look into this a little bit more. But are we going to get another, kind of hike in supply to try to meet demand? And where is the demand coming from at this time? I don't really know. Does that have something to do with crude oil? I'm not certain. I have to look into the, a little bit more in depth of the fundamentals. But this looks like, supply is starting to increase here, and for what reasons? That part I don't know. So then we look at commercial interest and we say, what's going on with commercial interest? They're really bearish, and like they were back here, they were a little bit bearish, and we retrace. But now comms are not nearly as bullish as they had been back in this territory. Are they expecting some upside here? A little bit of retrace because gas was so low. And where is the demand coming from? On that part I'm not sure. But open interest relatively low right now. Relatively low in the open interest. WPR were sold, but the market sentiment's starting to move up a little bit. We like to see the bearish outlook. We like to see a bullish outlook when open interest is this low. And we like to see open interest relatively high when comms are getting bearish for a short entry. So this is a little bit skewed to me in terms of open interest. Open interest is relatively low. Relative is, it's a term we throw around, but 35,000 contracts or something like that, from what we get in this report. But the relative high was upwards around 600,000 in this area. So what can we make of this? Market sentiment is moving up, maybe because price is moving up. EIA report is coming out tomorrow on gas, and now we're working with this price channel that we have. So bearish commercial interest in open interest, this doesn't jive with us very well. WPR in the overbought territory, sorry. And I got to think of, being up in this high value range, that there's, while we might come up and take out some of these swing high pivots, I think that there's, some downside that may be included here. All right, so let's first look at this. I just put this together. I was meditating. I was like, why don't I just put the in, and then that's what happened. But so we've been playing this for the last couple of days. Looking forward to the report tomorrow. Is it going to be a make or break? Thursday comes out. Friday report. Has it been helpful in the past where we get the Thursday report and then post Thursday into the next week because of the report. That either numbers were good or the numbers were bad. We've got an excess amount of supply and then we get a retrace. Or the numbers come out and, fundamental news, post report, and then, we've got this movement to the upside. Report comes out on Thursday and then post into the next week, post report, and we get some hike to the upside. So it'll be interesting to see what this report tells in relation to price action and where it's going to go. So, post report again here in the Thursday, and then we get movement to the downside. And then again here, post report, and it looked like we were already moving. Here's your Thursday open expectations that are met post report Monday open, and we get movement to the upside. So it seems like there's a lot of post report movement, price action with natural gas, where we were moving in one direction and then post report we're starting to move in the other direction. And so we're kind of flatlined here. Post report, we move to the downside. Post report, we move to the upside. So tomorrow I think would be very interesting in natural gas. But where are we now? Where are we right now? So we're just paying attention to this price channel. So it's like kind of a bottoming pattern going on here with this horizontal look. Horizontal, working with our point of control in this area. Look like a pretty good point of control. Our value high up here at the zero coefficient, and then we've got our value low down here at our 1.0 and our 1.25 coefficient, which are obviously are better buying opportunities if we're looking to get into this trade. But up in this range, do we want to chase natural gas into higher highs here outside of this this zero coefficient up into this area? So I'm not short yet because we haven't seen a breakdown. I actually thought that this was a very good area of confluence around the this larger time frame point of control. So this is a good area to be a buyer off of the dip. Also a good area to be a seller on the 1.0 point of control. So we established this 1 hour uptrend look here and we'll just do what I usually do, which is we're just going to draw on this chart. It's going to make it a little easier. I think a lot is going to hinge on probably tomorrow's report. So here's the Thursday report post Friday, and then we get price action to the upside, right? So not a good place to be a buyer up in this area on the the horizontal channel that we're working with. Above the point of control on the larger time frame, good area to be a buyer. Good area to be a buyer. Underneath it, not so much, but when we found support here, good place to be a buyer. Also, excellent place to be a buyer down on the 1.25 coefficient, and anywhere in this range just seems to be like a very good opportunity to be a buyer. And this has been happening for a couple of months now, right? This is a pretty lengthy channel to work with since January, so it's about 4 months. So we have the establishment now. We probably established this channel back in this area. It probably took a couple of months to establish, but now that we have it, we can work with it. So do I want to be a buyer up in this area? A rejection on the point of control of the uptrend. So we've got confluence here. Point of control, zero coefficient. Can it bust higher and then wait for an opportunity to be a seller somewhere up in this range. I guess the expectation is that we're going to get, a halfway decent report because of colder weather towards the end of this month. Maybe it does come up and challenge, the negative 2.5 coefficient and then this uptrend channel too, but not breaking down just yet, but now trading in the lower half of this point of control, whereas previously we were trading, opportunistic down here when we get that pivot and really aggressive buying above the point of control. But now we seem to be working towards the lower half and challenging the zero coefficient uptrend line. We even broke it. We broke the negative 2.5. We did find support in this area. So what does that look like? It looks like a mess here, but let's clean it up. Right. Just to get a nice visual of what's going on here. So we can get a break higher, kind of, false break type, or can we find support on the zero coefficient? It looks a little bit weaker in this area, and challenging, I think, below the zero coefficient really makes me think that along this point of control that this thing's getting ready to go the other way. We did get a little double top action here, trying to break out of this. If I have to be very forthcoming in this, I'm looking for a breakdown. I really am. Just because, I don't want to say repeat performance, but because of the time of year that we're in, we're into April. Into April right now. Not a good time to be a buyer of natural gas, I would think. Seasonally, it's just not in the cards, it doesn't seem like, until maybe August. And we've talked about this before. Here's May. Here's April previously. And a lot of sideways trading up until, September, August, September. Here's our August, September previously. Good time to be a buyer in natural gas, but November, December, I start retracing down into. It just doesn't seem like a good buying. This doesn't seem like a good buying opportunity. I got to look at some more fundamental news, but what does this mean to have supply about mid-range right now? Increase in supply, and then we don't meet the demands. They start supplying up for and storage for the next season. But so November top, November December top, retrace all the way down into August before it finds a bottom, and then starts moving the other way. So August is way over here. What's the driving factor here for demand? Or we can get a lot of sideways trading like we did previously from May up until September, October. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that this is totally going off the rails and going higher. I think that this is the top of our value range. This has been the top for the last several months, and I gotta think that this is going to break down. And I'm going to watch for the breakdown because I would love a ride to the downside on this, but EIA report comes out tomorrow, and I guess we're gonna figure that out. But I'm looking for a breakdown here. I'm definitely looking for a breakdown. And if it doesn't happen immediately, I'm looking to be short, probably up here in this area, if it does decide to pump up, or maybe even along the point of control. So I mean, we might come up and take out the highs, the previous highs over here. But what else are they looking for? Maybe up in this area. But I'm not optimistic that this is going to the moon. This is a very steep, maybe even irrational kind of incline, if you want to say that. It's a nice pump. So whatever happened in this report, and with fundamental news, it was a nice pump. I'm not holding my breath here, and I'm looking for a breakdown. Break up and then break. I don't care, one way or the other. I think the confluence is there on the zero coefficient and the -2.5, and the point of control is it just seems like there's a lot working for us, and I'm going to look for a breakdown of the channel and get on the short sell whenever this opportunity presents itself. So there's the uptrend channel. I just monitor it, from the 1 hour, and monitor it on your lower time frames, and see what you can see. See what you can see. Find out, when this thing is going to break down. Boy, I really think that I increased my load time from putting that indicator on, so I'm going to have to turn it off. Something to watch. Natural gas. There's been some good money. Good money here on the point of control. Good bounce back off of the zero coefficient off the uptrend line. So, yeah, hopefully you've been in the trade of natural gas. Anyways, this is probably a lot longer than it needed to be, but Paramay Trades. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hitting the like button or the subscribe button and leaving comments. We really enjoy those things. If you want to join us on Discord, it's a chat community, and it's open to the public for the most part. I post my trades, I post my studies, obviously the videos, and my charts and thoughts through the week. And yeah, thanks for stopping in. I hope you find yourself on the profitable side of the trade, and we'll see you again on the next video. Thanks.